You may have heard by now of the story from BC making international headlines where a transgendered parent refused to assign their child a gender at birth and received a BC care card with the letter U where the sex is usually marked down. The U stands for unspecified or unknown, as the parent, Corey Doty, also identifies as non-gender binary and doesn't believe in gendering children. And we wonder why Western civilization is falling and needs defending. Doty, who refuses to go by he or she, instead opting for they, has been doing the international media circuit ever since this story broke on June 30th. And just yesterday, one of our contributors from Australia, Dr. Tanveer Ahmed, did a great video on this topic, really getting into the medical and psychological side to this debate and the transgender topic at large. Check it out if you have the chance. Back on June 30th, Corey Doty put out a press release stating, quote, "I do not gender my child. It is up to Cyril to decide how they identify, when they are old enough to develop their own gender identity. I am not going to foreclose their choices based on an arbitrary assignment of gender at birth based on an inspection of their genitals." Unquote. Look, this is pseudoscience, and it's pseudoscience being masqueraded by a far-left political ideology. Well, as you might expect, a topic like this began to make its way around the world, and it culminated with an appearance by Corey Doty on Good Morning Britain, where Piers Morgan, love him or hate him, reacted like a severely normal person would to this story.
Let me help. I identify as a man. Susanna, I believe, unless things have changed in the last 20 minutes, identifies as a woman. Most people are happy to identify like that. I'm happy for you to identify any way you damn well see fit. It's fine. It's your business, right? What I'm more concerned about is your baby having absolutely zero identity until it decides what it wants to be. Can I call it it? What do I call your baby? Is it an it? What is it?
I use the pronouns they and their, and the same pronouns I use for myself, I use for my kid.
Piers Morgan is no conservative, but as I said, that was a severely normal reaction. Currently, Doty is fighting in a BC court for the same U marker on the child's birth certificate, because as of right now, birth certificates must either be marked male or female in British Columbia. And if you thought this story was just some strange story from a strange far-left ideologue in a far-left city like Vancouver, then sadly, I'm going to have to tell you that this is going to become far more common with each and every birth. Because recently, Alberta became the first province to introduce legislation aimed to allow an X to be marked in the gender box instead of M or F on birth certificates. And in Ontario, gender-neutral options are already given on driver's licenses and will also be allowed on birth certificates beginning next year. So I guess this story must have inspired fellow social justice warriors across this country, as on Sunday, CBC ran a story where a lesbian couple in Ontario want all children to be born gender-free at birth and have that placed on their health cards. As you may have predicted, this couple is also raising their child as non-binary, with one of the parents telling CBC, quote, "One's gender identity has no correlation with their autonomy. So when we're asking for someone to tell us their sex that was assigned at birth, they're really just indicating what they have between their legs structurally," unquote. Actually, I hate to tell you, but it's more than just what's between their legs. It's a whole system of different hormones and chemical reactions in our bodies that occur in the endocrine system, and that is different in boys and girls. And this is all taught in grade 8 science. But the most interesting part of the CBC story was they featured a poll done on this topic by Angus Reid, and it showed that 57% of people responding to the survey were opposed to a non-binary option on the birth certificate in Ontario. When we listen to medical professionals on this topic of transgender children or non-binary children, we often hear that some children do come forward and say that they feel like they are the wrong gender. But if that is what if that is a teenager who is entering puberty and they really feel, and with plenty of medical and psychiatric consultation, then maybe there's an option for that person to transition. But allowing children to enter hormone therapy is dangerous, and it can ruin a person's lives as they may not develop properly. And while I'm not a doctor or a transgender expert, I have to say that forcing a child who may be born a specific gender to be some kind of unambiguous non-binary child is bordering on child abuse. And I wonder if this could possibly be the most destructive far-left ideology Western culture sees right now. For the Rebel.media, I'm Christopher Wilson. Thank you for watching. You know, it's been a tough week for Canadians. We had our Prime Minister do the unthinkable and secretly pay off Omar Khadr, a convicted terrorist, to the tune of $10 million. Well, Omar Khadr murdered an army soldier named Christopher Spear, and his children are now fatherless. So we're raising money for them. Go to spearkids.ca and chip in whatever you can. It's truly appreciated.